Hey everybody, it's Dr. Steve Fallon. I thought I'd do a quick Facebook Live session to start the new year. We're live, it says. Okay. Let me see if, let me just check that this worked on my laptop. I'll see if it's actually running. I'll refresh my page. Hopefully, yeah, it's going. That is so cool. That is so cool. Okay, so we are live. It's actually working. Anybody that's clicking is able to see this now. So basically what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to share with you my consultation area, and I'll tell you about some of the systems that we use in the practice for case acceptance, and then I'm going to show you, what I'm doing with case acceptance. So essentially, I'm going to share with you a description of a case that I presented this week, at least the sequence of events that led to case acceptance. It was a full mouth rehabilitation case I presented the other day, accepted treatment, fairly good sized treatment plan, so that is cool. So I'm also, by the way, videotaping this with a high-def camera behind here, so I'm going to make this into a dental excellence video, I believe, because I know with this you can't really see the image on the computer very well, just from the quality of the camera in the iPhone, but with the camera over there, you can see it really well. So everybody's on my email list online community. We will email you this as a dental excellence video, assuming that the video turns out nicely. So what you're seeing here is my consultation room. And if you look, the patient comes in, they sit across from me, either the patient or the patient and the patient's spouse or significant other. And then what we have at this point, this is the final treatment planning consult in our system. What we have is we have the patient's keynote presentation here on my iMac. So it's an actual presentation of their images that I took at the records appointment. And then if they're having dental implants placed, we have their Simplant scan and implant planning on the iMac next to the presentation iMac. Now this is actually a case that I did this week as well. It's not this particular patient, it's a different patient, where I placed 6 implants, did some sinus lifts, and some guided bone regeneration in the anterior, which will be part of a full mouth rehabilitation case, but that will be, this particular case will be, the rehab part of it won't be for a while down the road until all of that heals. But I did do all of that surgery this week, and the cool thing is my commitment for 2017 is to create more clinical video. I've done a lot of clinical video. Obviously, I do a lot of clinical video, create a lot of clinical video for my occlusion design members, but what I want to do in 2017 is shoot way more video than I've shot at any time in the past. So we filmed the majority of that case yesterday with different video cameras outside of the mouth, so to speak. I've done a lot of clinical video filmed in my microscope. Doing that kind of surgery, I don't use a microscope, so I wouldn't have filmed it in the past. So now we're filming with different cameras. I'm looking into getting a camera that actually attaches to my operatory light as well. So my commitment for 2017 is really to do a lot more clinical video and share that with my occlusion design members. But besides that, that's just a little aside. The bottom line is the patient comes in for their treatment planning consultation. We've already had the records appointment. I'll speak about that in a minute. They come in, and generally what we have is we have their scan results if they're an implant case. If they're not an implant case, this is generally a blank screen. If they're an implant case, we have the scan results. If they're whatever kind of case, we have their keynote presentation here. And then I follow that with a case presentation of some form of similar case that I have already pre-arranged that I drop in behind the patient's case photos, just to show them the sequence of events that we use for treatment, the actual treatment, and then to also show them a case that's similar. So I've pre-configured a series of different Keynote presentations. They're what I call my Velocity Keynote presentations. So they're PowerPoint and Keynote files. And what I have is I have smile design cases, full mouth rehabilitation cases, which I used for this particular consultation, implant cases, and structurally compromised teeth. So for this case, it was pretty easy. All I had to do is I had to drop in the before photos that I took at the records appointment and put behind it a case that I selected from my Keynote files. So it makes creating this custom presentation for the patient really fast for me in my practice. And I just drop those from this USB into that iMac. And makes it really quick. I can make a presentation for a patient in usually 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes in some cases. And then the other thing we like to have when we're doing the treatment planning consultation is we like to have my books. So I have my books here. You can see this is my smile design book. I like this for picking smile design with patients because it's just really easy to flip through a book and look at all these different smiles and have an idea of what the patient likes, as opposed to going back and forth on the Keynote. So I found my sweet spot for case acceptance and presentation is patient's case photos on the computer screen, followed by a case that's similar with the treatment steps in that case, and that's from my Velocity Keynote. Then when we talk about smile design, I generally use my book because I like a variety of different cases that I can show them, that I show on this book. And we can show squarer, rounder, more rounded smile designs and get an idea of what that patient likes based on this book. So this book is very helpful, and we found that this is really good. We also use this at an initial consultation if the patient came in for an initial consultation. And then I have 2 other books that I use, or my hygienists use, that I created. This is our Stunning Smiles, our business book, one of my favorite cases on this. And this is my Full Mouth Rehabilitation book, which again is good for showing steps involved with creating a rehab, including the diagnostic wax up and the mounted study models. You can see that mimics what I have back here for the patient with the patient's mounted models. So patient comes in, we have the mounted models on the desk, we have our digital calipers, we have my smile design book, and we have the Keynote presentation. And, excuse me, basically I go through the patient's slides first. I point out, you know, what I'm seeing is going on in their mouth. I describe the implications of any problems related to what's going on in their mouth. I then tell them about what I think some solution options are, and then I describe the benefits of the solution options. And that's kind of a simple way to look at explaining case acceptance or case presentation. I think that's pretty cool. We look at the articulator, but really the articulator is more for me to actually treatment plan and diagnose the patient's case. It's not so much for case acceptance. You know, I don't really spend a lot of time, unless the patient's very technically oriented and wanting to look at that, looking at the articulator with the patient. I spend a lot of time looking at the articulator to treatment plan the case, but in a case presentation, I don't spend a tremendous amount of time looking at the articulator with the patient. I spend a lot more time looking at the patient's photos with the patient, because that is what they can visualize better and understand, and really is more interesting for them. And then being able to show case photos or a case that's similar afterwards, that they can then visualize the transformation that patient had from before to after and the steps involved. I think that that's very, very powerful. And then we use, as I said, the Smile Design book to finalize the treatment planning of the smile design. I don't really use a lot of imaging. I didn't even image this case. I could have. It would have been a great imaging case, but really it was right after holidays, and I've been away in Turks and Caicos, so I didn't have time to do the imaging, to be honest with you. It would have been a nice imaging case, but it didn't really matter. But what we end up doing, just so you understand, we don't present the treatment plan when the patient first shows up to the office. Because first of all, you have to have the records to treatment plan properly anyway. And secondly, you want to spend some time with the patient to get an idea of what they're looking for. You know, spending some time with this patient during the records, I had a much better idea of what he was looking for after that than I did before spending any time with him. And I had a much more better understanding of what he wanted to do, the sequence and the speed with which he wanted to complete his case. Namely, he just wanted to get everything done as ideally as possible and done in one series of appointments. So when I basically put together his treatment estimate, frequently I would do a couple of different options. Because of the discussion we had at the records appointment, I just gave him an option for the full mouth rehabilitation. There wasn't really a need to give him a partial rehabilitation option with maybe bonding to stage the case. So, you know, depending on what I learn at the records appointment, it has a powerful effect on what I give as an initial treatment plan. Now, that can always be altered, but for me, this gives me so much information. Usually I don't have to alter it much. It's usually what I think will be what the patient is looking for, what's a good fit for the patient. And if I'm in doubt, I give them a couple of different options. But this patient was clear what he wanted after speaking with him during the records. So that's another important thing. So I've had some patients, they come in and they've had a previous estimate for treatment. And really, they come in to see you in your practice for a consultation. They want another estimate for the same treatment that they've had estimated from another dentist immediately. And you haven't really met them. You don't have a good feel for them. They don't have a good feel for you. They don't really understand what you're all about. And they just want to price shop and compare price because they're not sure what else to ask for. So we absolutely refuse to give estimates at an initial consultation. Even if they bring x-rays, I'm not giving them an estimate at the initial consultation. I will, in some cases, give them a ballpark figure because I think that's fair. But what we tell them is, for me to properly treatment plan your case and give you an estimate, I need to do the diagnostic records. So I need to do what we call the functional analysis. And so they come in, generally, if they're coming in from advertising, they come in for an initial quick consultation. We get an idea of whether or not we're a good fit for each other, and we decide to bring them back for the functional analysis. If you know the patient's wondering really about price, I'll give them a ballpark range, and I'll tell them the fee for the records appointment. But we need the records appointment to then bring them for this treatment planning consultation where I'll give them an actual estimate. And I need all of that to get the estimate correct. So I recommend that you don't give treatment plans for complex dental cases at an initial consultation where the patient just comes in to meet you and brings some x-rays because you haven't done your due diligence, so to speak. And we give them a pretty big ballpark when we do give them a ballpark. And if they're not that concerned about it, I don't even give them a ballpark. Depends really on, if they're concerned about the fee for the records, then I give them the ballpark. Because if they're concerned about the records fee, then we might have a problem presenting a full mouth rehabilitation because the fee is significantly higher. But if they have no concerns about the records fee, if they come in and they've been referred by another dentist, I don't really get into all the fees that much as far as a ballpark either, because they've been referred by another dentist. This patient was referred by another dentist. And in fact, he was coming from out of town, so my receptionist did a really good thing. And my receptionists are really good at feeling out when they call the patients, the new patients, what is appropriate for them as well. So here's our other scenario. A patient calls, referred by another dentist from out of town. We don't bring them in for a short 5 to 10 minute consultation to see if they're a good fit. We basically, my receptionist Shannon will say, you're coming from out of town. If you feel that you do want to do treatment, we can set this up as a few minute kind of quick consultation plus the records. So we would do the records the day that you come in because you're coming from out of town. We don't want to waste your time coming here and then having to come back again and then having to come back again for the treatment planning consultation. So out of town patients referred from another dentist especially, we offer them the records appointment as an initial consultation as opposed to the initial short consultation. So hopefully that makes sense. I think you're trying to, if you have a strong referral new patient who needs or is looking to want pretty significant dentistry, I will book them the records appointment before seeing them. And then with that, we give them an estimate of what the records will be before they come in, just so there's no surprises. We obviously can't give them a ballpark of the fee because I've never even seen them, but we tell them what the records would be, and then we tell them we're going to do the records this day that you come in, and then we will bring you back for the treatment planning consultation to actually give you the fees. This patient came in that way. Made sense. He was coming from out of town. We don't want to waste his time. He was serious about having treatment completed. We never discussed fees at all at the records appointment or anything other than the fee of the records, which was discussed when we booked it. We didn't really discuss it again during the records. And I didn't give him a ballpark because he didn't ask. He seemed pretty serious about having the treatment, and we were doing the records, so I didn't feel the need to do the ballpark. I just gave him the estimate for fees this day, this week, when he came in for the treatment planning consultation. Hopefully that makes sense. The bottom line is, I don't think you should really give fee estimates at an initial consultation where you haven't done the diagnostic records. And what we call it is a functional analysis. So we're taking two sets of mounted study models. This is exactly what I teach in occlusion design. 2 sets of mounted study models mounted on the SAM3 articulator in CR, and I'm basically using these to treatment plan the case. This is a full mouth rehabilitation case that will have a vertical dimension change, and it's a pretty significant wear case. I'm actually going to share this case, treatment planning of this case and risk assessment of this case with my occlusion design members next week during our monthly members webinar. But what we did is he came in, I show him all his pictures, I show him his pictures of his mouth. Again, we talk about problems, implications, solutions, and benefits. And then I show him to kind of show solutions and make an understanding of that. I show him a different full mouth rehabilitation case directly from my Velocity case presentation Keynote. So this is case 1 from the Velocity full mouth rehabilitation Keynote, and this is where this doesn't work great, is you can't really see this very well on Facebook Live when I did the test, but you can see it pretty good on my camera over there, so we'll make this into a dental excellence video. But it's basically a full mouth case that I completed a few years ago. Shows the before pictures. So I'm showing tooth wears fairly similar to this patient. That's why I selected this case. I have a number of different cases on here. Generally, there's a case on here that's similar to the patient that you're treatment planning. So this was very similar, lots of similarities here. So I showed him this case, and I showed him, here's the before model for this particular patient. This is the wax up. This is what we need to do for you. Take your before model, create a diagnostic wax up. Here's the lower model, diagnostic wax up. Here's the upper model, diagnostic wax up. Similar tooth length increases needed by you. Lower model, diagnostic wax up. We take the diagnostic wax up and we make a series of guides to create the preparations of your teeth and the temporary restorations, which will test out what we've created on the diagnostic wax up. So I show all of this. This is part of the treatment process. We then prepare the teeth. I show prepared teeth images because I think that's good for informed consent. We also did some gingival alterations here. I show that. He needed a gingival alteration. He actually needs crown lengthening on one tooth. I show making the provisionals. Again, this is all in this keynote, full mouth rehabilitation keynote here. These are just the slides from it. I went and basically put my patients' pictures in front of this keynote. So here are the provisionals. Here's the before and after, just the provisionals. At that point, the patient went, wow, that's what I'm looking for. You know, and that's what you want to hear. That's what I'm looking for. You know, because this is what he's looking for. This is what he wants to have. And it's better structurally. It's better aesthetically. It's exactly what he's looking for. Before and after, but provisionals. Again, sorry, it's washed out in the video, Facebook Live video. And then here's the actual ceramics, upper ceramics, inside of the ceramics, and then the actual case, before and after. Before and after, sorry, again, you can't see this very well. Before and after, before and after, before and after. So this is the entire case presentation for this patient. It started out with his pictures and went into, I showed more of his pictures, I'm not going to bother showing them right now, and then went into my case one from the Velocity Structurally Compromised Teeth keynote. After we did that, I gave him the fee estimate. It was, you know, it's a significant fee. It's around $60,000 for this case, but it's a full mouth rehab case, so it's pretty significant. And then we looked at my smile design book to pick out the actual smile design. So that was the entire process. I think it's a very predictable system. If you don't have these kind of materials in your practice, join my webinar that's in the description of this Facebook Live, my Master Your Case Acceptance webinar. We're actually going to run one tonight. Join that and you'll learn my case acceptance system in more detail, see these slides more clearly, and you'll also have the opportunity to join my Velocity Elite program and be able to have this for your practice. So these keynotes, presentations on this USB drive, and understand exactly how to use them, as well as my Smile Design book, my Full Mouth Rehabilitation book, and my Stunning Smiles Are Your Business book. So you'll be able to have a custom case acceptance solution, very turnkey, done for you, ready to go to use in your practice right away by looking at joining my Velocity Elite program. And if you're not even interested that much in my Velocity Elite program, or you don't know what it is, or whatever, doesn't really matter. Join the webinar anyway, because it does go into a nicer detail about the case acceptance system, because obviously this is washed out here. So that's kind of what I wanted to present tonight. I'm going to look at questions now and see what we have and try and answer those, if I can make this work, because you know, this is a little different. I'm not totally used to this Facebook Live thing. Okay, so let's look at this. If you have any questions, let me know and I will try and answer them now. And as I said, I'm going to try and create a video out of the video camera, the higher def version of this, and send it out to all of you on my email list. If you're not on my email list, when you join the Master Your Case Acceptance webinar, you'll be joined to our email list. So, oh, looks like Ranesh Ganatra's here. Hey Ranesh, how you doing? That is very cool. Oh, we've got lots of people here. Oh, my bro Doug Bailey's here. We went to Doug's dentist, another dentist. We went to high school together. We still hang out after high school. Can you imagine? It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And I got Doug wake surfing this summer. Kind of wake surfing. He kind of wake slid. That's what he did. He wake slid, not wake surf. But we're going to get him next summer. We're going to get him surfing. He was close. He was close. Matt Croston, how do you find the time for all that you do? You know, I have an understanding wife. I told her today at about 3 o'clock, I said, I think I'm going to go do a Facebook Live tonight. What's a good time after our daughter's gymnastics? And she basically agreed that 9 was a good time, 9 p.m. So that was cool. So she's very understanding about letting me indulge in my interests for dentistry plus dental CE, which I really enjoy. So, and the other thing that I've done, Matt, I was finding maybe a little bit burnout last year, around early part of last year, and physically my body was getting pretty, my neck and shoulder and everything were getting pretty bent out. So I cut to 3 clinical days a week. And I find I'm much better physically 3 clinical days. Now this week I did 4 days because I had to fit in an implant surgery today, but it was a small surgery, so I felt okay. But the day that I did, that's not up right now, but the day that I did that 6 implant case with sinus lift and in a different section a GBR. I also extracted a wisdom tooth, did a core build up, and made a full arch provisional. That day, at the end of that day, my neck and shoulder were killing me for at least, you know, fortunately only about half an hour. So this week I did do 4 clinical days, but it was really 3.5 days, although one was a super day doing all of that. So, you know, 3 clinical days I find I can do my clinical dentistry and then have enough time to really dedicate to my teaching business, because I love the teaching part of this. And what I really like is putting together the presentations. I enjoy that, and the videos, and editing the videos. So you know, the bottom line is my wife's cool about it, and I am 3 days a week clinically most weeks. So that's how we're managing that. Although next month I have another 4-day week, and it's going to be a tough one because I have 2 days of prepping the full mouth case. You know, these long days where you're prepping full arch cases or doing full, you know, major cases, you know, my neck and shoulder get tight because I'm really like focused. But that's all good. That's all good. Okay. Watch a lot of his videos, like the mulatto. Thank you, Adele. That is very cool. Oh, Matt joined my occlusion design course. And don't have to, because I dropped all the right names. Well, those are people that I learned from when I was doing my CE. And I didn't have to travel all over the place to learn occlusion, so pretty solid. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Adele looking to get back in. Yeah, you should get back into the course. Contact Jennifer. Okay. Okay, so I'll stop there. As far as that whole conversation goes, I'll check that out later. Anna, thanks for the Christmas card. Nice detail. Oh, you're welcome. You know, it's so funny. I had the occlusion design members, I sent all the occlusion design members, at least all new members up until mid-December. I sent Christmas cards, handwritten Christmas cards, and I spent 3 days writing Christmas cards. It was craziness because like the membership's grown so much. I actually spent, I think I totaled it into 13 or 14 hours doing Christmas cards this December. I actually watched the entire season of The Crown on Netflix while I was doing Christmas cards, plus some like DVDs, dental DVDs. So it was pretty crazy. But I'm glad you liked the Christmas card. That was cool. And my wife hated that, by the way. I didn't clear it with her to use the Star Wars image. And she said, "Oh, I don't like the way I look." And I said, "Well, I just sent it out to dentists all over the world. Sorry." But that's all good. Do you ever lend them the design book to take home and show their spouses? You know, we haven't been asked that, but it's a good question. I think if they asked, I would. If they gave us the deposit for treatment, I would be cool with doing that. But you know what I could do? Realistically, I could create a PDF of this and email it to them. I guess I could do that. I hadn't thought of that, but that would be a possibility as well. Although I don't know if I want to send PDFs to patients of that, but I don't know. It would be, it wouldn't be a terrible idea. It's funny, most of the people that, if their spouse needs to be involved, they generally bring them to that consultation. If their spouse doesn't need to be involved, in their opinion, to figure this stuff out, they're generally not there. So I've really never had that request. It's an interesting request, but never had it, didn't come across it yet. We'd be happy to book them a second consultation where they bring their spouse and answer any questions and show their spouse the smile design, etc. So that would be a solution as well. You know, there's lots of different ways to deal with it. I really haven't seen that. As I said, if somebody anticipates their spouse wants to have an opinion on this, they generally bring them to that consultation. And that's a good thing to discuss with the patient at the records appointment, is just say, hey, if your spouse is interested in knowing about this or wants some input in this or feedback into this, maybe bring them for the next consultation appointment. And I think that would be cool. Where do you keep all your casts? That is a big issue. We've got a whole ton of storage at the, ton of casts stored at the back. But I've had to purge. So we've had to, I've 25 years in practice, so we've had to get rid of, you know, the majority of the cases, the old cases. I keep all my favorite teaching cases, all the casts and all the records for those. But a lot of the old cases, over 10 years old, if they're not one of my favorite teaching cases, everything's gone because we just didn't have the room. Another solution is you give all the casts to the patient when you're finished treatment, because you don't need to keep them. It's good for somebody to keep them for historical records, as well as in case of any accident. But you know, it's hard for us to keep casts for every case. So we have the last few years worth of cases here, and we've purged the majority of the cases. I had them stored in the basement of my house at one point, and I just said, I've got like 10 huge boxes of casts in the basement of my house. I had them taken away by Just Junk and disposed of. How much do you charge for the initial diagnostic wax-up? Oh, that's a good question, Andy. And let me tell you this. My recommendation is you do not do the diagnostic wax-up until the patient's paid the deposit for the treatment plan. So at this appointment, the consultation appointment, there's no diagnostic wax-up here. There's just the casts. So there's no diagnostic wax-up. If I feel, and there's the rare case where I want to wax up to figure out the finalization of the treatment plan, if we need that, then I'll tell them that at this appointment. I'll give them an estimate of what I think the treatment plan will be, and I'll tell them what it'll cost for the wax up, and they'll have to pay that before we go forward with the case, because we need that information. But we don't do the diagnostic wax up until we've been paid at least a deposit for treatment, which would be more than enough to cover the cost of the diagnostic wax up. So for a full mouth case, I typically take a deposit of $10,000 to reserve the appointment time for the initial appointments and to cover the cost of the diagnostic wax up. For a smaller case, you can take a smaller deposit, but you'd still want to cover the cost of the diagnostic wax up, because you know you don't want to have to pay for that And we don't do this until case acceptance has been achieved, or at least case acceptance to the point of having the diagnostic wax-up done for further information we need to finalize the treatment plan. But that's a pretty rare case where we need that. You know, I do a lot of these cases, and I rarely need the wax-up to be able to tell if I can do the case. But occasionally, rare case, I need that, but it's pretty rare. It's a once in every couple of years thing. Can you please explain the steps for a full mouth rehab case? Full mouth rehab, step by step, please. Guys, come on. It's a Facebook Live about case acceptance. I can't explain how to do a full mouth rehab on a Facebook Live. That's what I have my occlusion design course for. It does explain a lot of the details for this, but it's taken 50 hours of video to teach you that. You know, maybe not 50 hours, but you know, there is at least 50 hours of video on the occlusion design course. So, you know, I can't explain step by step full mouth rehab on a Facebook Live. You know, and like the occlusion design course shows you clinical video of how I'm actually doing this stuff. And you need that to understand the steps involved in doing a rehab case. So, yeah, can't do that. Sorry about that. But, again, I can tell you where you can learn that, and that is my occlusion design course. I'm spending $12,000 flights and hotel, U.S. funds for 2 Dr. Koi's courses. Your course is a bargain, LOL. That's funny. Well, yeah, my course is a bargain, but it's still, you know, I would never tell people don't go to Dr. Koi's. I think Dr. Koi's is amazing, and he was a huge impact on me. So I always recommend, if anybody says, you know, do you think I should go to Koi's? Yes, you should go to Koi's. He's a brilliant man. I always recommend that. But you should also do my course, because we got 2 different perspectives. It's good to learn some different perspectives. And I follow a lot of Koi's, but I'm not a Koi's clone by any means. I've kind of put together a lot of things from a lot of different people, and it's definitely something that works in clinical practice. I'm still practicing 3 days a week, and I'm doing this kind of dentistry on a very regular basis, you know, rehab cases each and every month in the practice, either rehab cases, veneer cases, implant cases. So this is what we do in the practice. So if we don't have, do we have any other questions? So you know what else I'll do? I will show all of you my big operatory, because it's just around the corner. Let me show you this. I'm going to switch this so you can see the office. There we go. So here's where I'm filming the little conversation we just had. And you can see we're filming this. We've got some lights, video camera, and this will be, with the back camera actually it would have been better. Didn't think of that, but then I can't see where it's pointing. So you can see better the Keynote this way. So this is when the patient comes in, they sit over here. We've got the books laid out. We've got the articulator with the models. We have the Keynote presentation. And then if they're an implant case, I have the Simplant plan on the other computer. I don't obviously have my Velocity Keynote box on the table, but this is pretty much the table layout for the consult when the patient comes in. We have 2 chairs here in case, you know, the patient brings their spouse, which I'm totally cool with. And then I sit here, and then we have a little chair right about here where my assistant sits and writes everything down. And because I don't like writing charts or writing up about the consult and all the informed consent stuff, so she sits here and writes everything down. That's the other way I get a lot done, is I'm good at, what do you call it? I am good at delegating and getting other people to do some of the things that I don't want to do. So there's that. That's the consultation room. I'll back up a little bit. So it's a nice little room. We have, I also, if you see my Dental Excellence videos, I usually put the computer this way, facing there, and you've probably recognized kind of part of the picture from some of my dental excellence videos. So that's a Peter Lick picture called Evolution from Hawaii with the active volcanic area on the Big Island. Beautiful picture, love that picture. Here's a big mirror. This is one of the cameras that I use. It's my D3S with the dual flash system. There's another Smile design book. Again, we have them all over the place in the office. It's good to have them for the dental hygienists as well, and maybe even in the reception area. I was testing out a D5, a D500. Haven't decided which one I want to buy. I have a D810 as well and a D3, so I have a number of different cameras. I get great color from this camera, so I keep testing other cameras, and I can never find one that gives me the color for dental photography that this one does. So that's why I'm stuck to the old D3S. Here's my big operatory, so we'll do a kind of a pano view. You can see this is where I do my large cases, and it's very large, so we've got lots of space. If the patient brings a, I don't know, like a spouse with them, they can sit over there, at least at the end of the appointment. And then you kind of pan around, and then we have this mirror here for them to look at their new smile in. A couple of my certificates from taking courses at IDEA. And then over here, this is my microscope, my Pro Ergo microscope. You can see here. I've taken the video camera off of this, and we were using it to videotape what I was teaching tonight with the Facebook Live. So we have a video camera that goes on here, and that's where a lot of different clinical videos that I film come from. But really good microscope. I love this scope. I've had it for, 12 years, I think. It's really quite awesome. And then my commitment this year is to shoot even more video. And we're looking at getting a video camera, a high-def camera that goes on here, so I could shoot that perspective as well. And yesterday, when I was doing the implant surgery, we had my second assistant here videotaping with one of my video cameras. So we had like multiple things going on. And then this is where I keep some of my video equipment and camera equipment. And then over here we have our pulse oximeter, our water laser, and our piezo surgery instrument, which I really like for a variety of bone surgery. And then little chair for somebody to rest in. So yesterday, when we did the large implant case, we gave them breaks throughout and let them come over here and sit in a more comfortable chair. And then this is my other Peter Lick picture that I have up in this part of the office. I actually have quite a few of these, but this is one of my favorites. It's called Pele's Whisper. It's quite stunning. It's one of his iconic pieces. And then I use this monitor when I'm doing webinars, but I just got a new one, a 5K monitor this week that I'm going to test out tomorrow. And then more equipment. That's my photo section of the operatory. So we have a nice photo area for before and after pictures. I don't shoot clinical photos here. They're all shot in the actual dental chair. And then, I didn't show you my loops, in case you haven't seen my loops. So this is what I'm using. I think it's really important to use a lot of magnification. So this is the minimum magnification that I use. It's 4.5 times 350, so 4.5 times magnification. I think anything less than 3.5 is pretty much a waste. It's good if you need to start in the 2s, but I think you should graduate, if you could, to these Zeiss 4.5s as quickly as possible, because these have a fantastic amount of magnification. They're actually perfect. And then I have a LED light. I think a light of some form is really important these days. I find when I don't have the light on, it's like after using the light, it's really strange not having the light on, even though my operatory light is quite excellent. Like, this is a very good light, but this is addition to that light is awesome. And then the microscope, of course, has even another level of light as well, which can be controlled by these little controls. So I can turn up or down the light and, change the magnification of the microscope with that. So I'm just about done what I wanted to share, but what I can do now is I'll take a look if we have any other questions. Let me take a look. Okay. Tell us what your trip to CERN was like. Do you mean Bern? I did go to Bern a few times for courses with Dr. Boozer, and that was fantastic, actually. I recently bought a book by Dr. Miro Fradiani that I think you would enjoy. I have both of them. They're fantastic books. I actually thought about taking Dr. Fradiani's course, his kind of small workshop courses in Italy. I haven't done it yet, but it is on my list of things that I would like to do. Last year I went to Munich and took a course with Dr. Otto Zur and Dr. Herzler, his partner, and that was really fantastic. I love this content and approach. Great work. Oh, you're welcome. Where did you receive your implant training? Well, I've gone to a number of different places. One of the most prominent was probably Dr. Picos Institute, but I've also gone to IDEA and taken Dr. Tarnow's course at IDEA. And as I said, I went to Switzerland a few times for Dr. Boozer's courses, his master's courses in implantology, and I went to Dr. Zur's course with Dr. Herzler in Germany, and I was supposed to go back again perhaps this year, but I think I'm moving it to next year. My wife was worried about going to Europe with all the terrorism, because they had a terrorist attack in Munich shortly after I was there, and she said maybe you should wait another year before you go back there. But hopefully that won't be an issue going forward. Do you increase your fees on the crowns when you start doing full mouth cases? Yeah, what we do is we add more provisional fee typically, because the full mouth cases, the crown itself doesn't take maybe longer, but it takes longer for provisional work. So with provisional work, we have to add more provisional fees with these full mouth cases. So my suggestion is maybe add more fees with the provisionals. Or increase the crown fee. We add just provisional fees, extra provisional fees typically is the way that we do it. And that is effectively increasing the crown fee. Because you need that, because you're going to spend more time than if you're doing single unit crowns with the provisional restorations with the full mouth case. Oh, my friend Lenny Gordon's here. Hey Lenny, how you doing? Looking forward to catching up in Vegas. Yes, I'm going to be presenting with Harold in Vegas at the AACD meeting in April. So any of you looking at going to the AACD meeting in April, I'm presenting with my ceramist Harold Heindel, and I would say come up and see us. Come to our lecture. It's going to be really good. We're rolling back the curtains on some really good information about the records, the restorative records when you're doing cases like this. Yes, both books by Fradiani are amazing, and you have Dr. Zur's book. Yeah, it's fantastic, Anna. You would like his courses. The courses in Munich are great. I love the facility. Really enjoyed it. They're great guys, Mark and Otto. I definitely want to go back, but my wife was a little spooked that they had a terrorist attack shortly after I was there. So I think I'm going to give it an extra year, and hopefully everything settles down with all that nonsense in Europe by then. The other thing that I did, which he's not offering this year, I noticed, I took Otto's course at IDEA, and it was fantastic also. He had a course at IDEA. Really great person. But I would also recommend the courses at Bern, University of Bern in Switzerland. And again, if you're in North America, you should look at Picos. Picos has some great courses. And IDEA has great courses. There's so many good courses in implant dentistry. And I did kind of what I did with the restorative and reconstructive dentistry. and aesthetic dentistry, and I kind of took courses from all over with implant dentistry to get a number of different perspectives once again, like I did with restorative dentistry, and it helped me put together the system that I use in my practice, because I use guided surgery for pretty much all my cases with this implant guide, and nobody's really teaching that exact approach. But you know, if you're going to do a guided case, in case you have trouble, you need to be able to get out of trouble. So you need to learn all the traditional approach, plus you need to learn a lot of these grafting techniques for the cases that can't be guided with a punch. You know, most of my cases, I'll do a punch and place the implant through the guide. That was today's case. It's a piece of cake, really. It's just depth control issues or depth positioning issues. That's the only thing that I really have to think about a lot when I'm doing those cases. All of the other thinking, the planning, the thinking's done in the planning. The surgery, the thinking is about depth of the implant more than anything. But cases where you have to flap and do bone grafting, that's a completely different story. The big case I did this week, I did the posterior implants with punches and did vertical sinus lifts through the punches. And I did the anterior with a traditional flap plus GBR approach, like Dr. Boozer teaches. So, very cool stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody has any more questions. How long have we been? Holy crap, it goes by fast. It's almost 10 o'clock. Can you believe that, everybody? 10 o'clock in Eastern time zone. So I think I'm going to wrap this up if we don't have any other questions. The video will be on my Facebook page. You can watch it again if you showed up late. Watch it from the beginning. It's really good. And I've got to wrap this up before 10 because we're running an encore version of my Master Your Case Acceptance webinar. More detail than I was able to share with you tonight. Be able to see my slide presentations even better. So I would say click the link, the bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/failindental. So www.bit.ly/failindental. We're going to be offering that webinar for a little less than 2 more weeks, and then I'm going to put it away and put it on the shelf for a little while. So we're going to be offering that for a short period of time. You can join that if you'd like, and I think that you'll like the presentation there. It's really good. It's only about 2 hours. It's fairly straightforward, and I think a lot of good information. So if you like this, you'll love that. So thank you very much, everybody. Nice to connect with you all, especially Lenny, Doug, Ranesh, all of you, Anna, all of my members that joined tonight. I saw there were a few of you, Matt and Janice, and who else do we have on here? Lots of different members. Anna, I sent the Christmas card to. I'm glad you liked that. So yeah, thank you everybody, and we are all good. I'll sign out now, and if you're interested, log into the Master Your Case Acceptance webinar. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Ciao.